A very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you and here are the headlines. Prime Minister reviews progress in key infrastructure sectors, directs stringent monitoring of rural road construction, asks for possible technology infusion to aid projects. BJP releases first list of 70 candidates for Gujarat elections. List includes 49 sitting MLAs and 5 Congress rebels. Congress also discusses list of probables. Overnight rain improves air quality in Delhi and surrounding areas. Ban on construction activities lifted. EPCA questions Delhi government on insufficient public transport. Vice President says there cannot be development with glaring inequalities based on caste, creed, religion or gender. Calls for national debate to push for quotas for subcategories. And Sushil Kumar wins gold in men's 74-kilogram freestyle category at National Wrestling Championship. PV Sindhu bows out of China Open Badminton. Top story this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviewed the progress of key infrastructure sectors on Friday. The Prime Minister directed officials to ensure efficient and stringent monitoring of construction of rural roads. Key sectors including roads, railways and airports were reviewed at the meeting. The Prime Minister also directed use of new technologies in road construction. He asked the Niti Aayog to examine global standards of technology in the sector and its feasibility. The Prime Minister called for a consolidated approach to existing projects and their completion within strict timeline. He also called for a detailed analysis of the complaints received from the Meri Sadak app. Sectors like coal, power, housing were also reviewed in the meeting. The Prime Minister called for infusing technology inputs in underground mining and coal. International rating agency Moodys upgraded India's credit rating from Baa3 to Baa2. Now, the agency has also changed India's outlook from positive to stable. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley welcomed the jump in ratings, calling it a recognition of the Modi government's reforms.
After close to 13 years, the US-based rating agency Moodys has upgraded India's sovereign credit rating Baa2 from the earlier Baa3. Taking note of the reforms by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the agency changed India's outlook to stable from positive. It said that economic and institutional reforms will foster substantial growth and help stabilize rising levels of debt. Praising the goods and service tax regime and demonetization, it said that these reforms will promote productivity by removing barriers in interstate trade, improvements to the monetary policy framework, measures to address the overhang of non-performing loans in the banking system, and those like demonetization, the Aadhaar system of biometric accounts, and targeted delivery of benefits through the direct benefit transfer system are intended to reduce informality in the economy. Responding to the statement, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the jump in ratings is a belated recognition of reforms in the last few years. He also pledged to continue the reforms while maintaining fiscal discipline.
Obviously, it is a recognition and an endorsement of the reform process which has gone on in India, particularly in the last 3 to 4 years, where a number of structural reforms have taken place.
Policy panel Niti Aayog said the new rating will reinstill confidence of foreign investors in Indian economy. Chief Economic Advisor in the Finance Ministry, Arvind Subramanian, said the new rating was long overdue. He also hoped other agencies will follow suit.
I think we also need to keep all these things in perspective. I think the government is going to do what it has to do on the domestic front, employment growth, economic growth, reviving investment and so on. And As for what the other investment ratings agencies will do, I had said that the rating agencies were not being consistent between India and China. Let's hope they're not inconsistent amongst each other.
Moodys is expecting India's GDP growth to moderate to 6.7% in the fiscal year ending in March 2018 and improve further to 7.5% in the next fiscal. It also said that in the long term, India's growth potential is significantly higher than most of the BAA rated nations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Moody's credit ratings have come after another US-based think tank, PEW Research Center, said that Prime Minister Modi's approval ratings among Indians has increased continuously. It said that in 2017, 9 out of 10 Indians expressed favorable views about Prime Minister Modi, a remarkable jump from 7 out of 10 favorable views in 2015. The survey says that demonetization only cemented Prime Minister Modi's popularity. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke to Bruce Stokes, the director of the Global Economic Attitudes at the Washington-based think tank. Take a listen.
What is the most important thing of your survey?
Well, I think there's a number of striking findings. One is the continued strong favorability of the Prime Minister. 88% of the public have a favorable view of the Prime Minister 3 years into his 5-year tenure. Secondly, that there is an increasing belief that the direction of the country's going in the right direction. 70% say that now. That people feel better and better about the economy. Now, we did the survey before the recent dip in the economy. That may explain some of it, but
you have done this survey after 1 year after demonetization. So what was the feeling about demonetization among the people?
Well, we asked people about was the availability of cash for daily use a problem in the country. And while 45% said yes, that was actually a relatively low level of concern compared to concerns about corruption or crime or terrorism.
So what they wanted about Pakistan?
Well, it's interesting. The unfavorability of Pakistan has gone up in our survey in terms of the public's unfavorable view has gone up. 6 in 10 say that they want the military to be tougher in Kashmir.
So what was the biggest worry of Indians about?
Well, their biggest concern internationally was ISIS terrorism.
You think that this survey was enough because people are saying that sample size was very small?
Well, that's a good question. We are very proud of our methodology. We think that, contrary to what might think, you don't need to have a big sample size to get an accurate survey. What you need is the right methodology.
On to some other news now. French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, who is on a 3-day visit to India, met Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj on Friday. During their meeting, both the foreign ministers expressed grave concern over growing terrorism and agreed to enhance counter-terror cooperation. They also vowed to increase cooperation in the Asia-Pacific region. The French minister's visit is seen as a precursor to the visit of French President Emmanuel Macron sometime early next year.
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj held extensive talks with French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian. Cross-border terrorism was one of the major issues that was discussed. The leader appealed to other nations to oppose sheltering of terrorism.
हमने विश्व में बढ़ते हुए आतंकवाद पर गहरी चिंता व्यक्त करते हुए ये तय किया कि दोनों देशों को एक साथ मिलकर इस बुराई को हटाने का संकल्प लेना है और विश्व के सभी देशों से हमने अपील की कि वो आतंकवाद को धन देने वाले, उनको शरण देने वाले और उन्हें समर्थन देने वाले देशों का एकजुट होकर विरोध करें.
Both countries decided to increase defense cooperation. They also agreed to cooperate in manufacturing and technology sectors. They'll also intensify the cooperation on climate change, especially at a time when the United States has pulled out of the Paris Agreement.
भारत फ्रांस रक्षा सहयोग बहुत ही मजबूती से आगे बढ़ रहा है, जिसमें संस्थागत संपर्क, संयुक्त सैन्य अभ्यास, अधिग्रहण, प्रशिक्षण और रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट शामिल हैं. हमारे बीच टेक्नोलॉजी एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पार्टनरशिप को गहन बनाने और साथ ही भारत फ्रांस मिलिट्री लॉजिस्टिक्स कोऑर्डिनेशन को मजबूत करने की जरूरत पर भी सहमति हुई है.
They wish that the state visit of President Macron coincides with the first summit of the International Solar Alliance here in Delhi. This is very positive, and it will enable us to enhance the attractiveness of this international organization, which will play a very crucial role in helping developing countries to gain access to sustainable energy at lower costs.
Both countries also decided to start work on the Jayapur nuclear power plant as soon as possible. India and France will hold the first summit on International Solar Alliance. That is one of the major milestones of cooperation between the two countries. India has made its first huge order for fighter aircraft from France to buy 36 Rafale fighter jets and also Scorpene submarines. To increase the atmosphere of cooperation between India and France, both countries will organize Bonjour India celebration in 33 Indian cities next year. The French Foreign Minister also met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi to apprise him of the latest developments. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has rejected Congress's allegations on the procurement deal for 36 Rafale fighter jets. Now, terming the allegations as shameful, the Defence Minister said that the deal was finalized following a transparent procedure. Calling the bickering over the deal as disservice to the armed forces, she also cited the urgent requirement of the Indian Air Force as the main reason for sealing the deal. She said the Congress, while in power, sat on the plan to buy jets for 10 years. The comments came a day after Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi accused Prime Minister Narendra Modi of having changed the entire Rafale fighter plane deal to help a businessman. The Congress has alleged that there was a scam in the procurement of the 36 fighter jets from France. Earlier, Chief of Air Staff Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa had also rejected the allegations and had said that the government had struck a good deal. Meanwhile, reacting to the Defence Minister, the Congress has said that she was misleading the nation.
So, for an intergovernment agreement, which is, as I said, allowed by procedure, and for the 5 rounds of discussions which got reported to the Cabinet Committee on Security, post which the approval of the CCS was obtained, post which the agreement was done in full public view with the 2 defense ministers of France and India being there, has been done. Absolutely no procedure has been violated.
On to some other news now. Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates on Friday met Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath in Lucknow. The founder of Bill Gates Melinda Gates Foundation told the Chief Minister that he was already monitoring vector-borne diseases with the Indian Council of Medical Research. The UP Chief Minister briefed Gates about the state government's efforts to eliminate encephalitis and other vector-borne diseases. He also informed Gates that the UP government recently organized a program in which over 92 lakh children were vaccinated. The discussions also focused on the complete eradication of filariasis, which the state government and the Gates Foundation have signed a 5-year MOU on. Several state dignitaries were also present at the meeting. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu released a book titled Social Exclusion and Justice in India, authored by P.S. Krishnan, at an event in the national capital on Friday. Addressing the event, he said that India cannot become a developed country till there are glaring inequalities based on caste, creed, religion and sex. He added that only through empowerment of the Dalits, Adivasis and the most backward class can India progress. He suggested that communities enjoying reservations should be divided into subcategories for a more equitable distribution of reservation benefits. Praising the book, Naidu said that the book is not only a piece of analytical research and synthesis, but also one that provides practical insights into how the constitutional provisions have been translated into legislations and other programmatic interventions. The Union Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment, Thawar Chand Gehlot, and other dignitaries were also present at the event.
The time has come. You should not touch reservation at all. Whatever quota is given to those communities, it should remain. And according to the increase of their population, it should also increase. That's very clear. But within that reservation, every community, caste, subcaste, subtribe, they should also get their share. That is the issue now. It cannot be done overnight. I do agree. It requires manthan.
And in Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Sharai and you're watching Law of the Land.
A lot of Australians are working even in Indian sports nowadays. So in the different teams are also having a lot of Australian support staff.
The sports is not something which you perform in the spur of the moment.
We are going to start the National Sports University from this year itself.
The government of India should consider inviting foreigners or people who are excellent in sports.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. After the break, let's now get you the update on smog situation in Delhi and NCR, and showers in Delhi and surrounding areas improved the air quality levels. Air quality in Delhi remained outside the severe plus category for the fourth day on Friday. Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal in a pollution review meeting said that the ban on use of generator sets and prohibition on open burning of garbage will continue in Delhi to keep a check on the pollution levels. Increased frequency of metro and mechanical sweeping of Delhi roads will also continue till further notice. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court mandated a pollution watchdog EPCA came down heavily on AAP government for not doing enough to supplement the city's public transport. In a letter to Delhi's Transport Minister, the EPCA also questioned his government's decision to implement odd-even scheme even before consulting with the pollution watchdog. EPCA also asked Delhi government to advise other cities in the National Capital Region to implement the odd-even scheme. Earlier in the day, the National Green Tribunal lifted its ban on the construction activities in the Delhi NCR region and also allowed the entry of trucks in the capital, but it did not lift its ban on industrial activities. Meanwhile, the Dean of a Diplomatic Corps, who represents over 150 foreign missions in India, met MEA officials to convey concerns over Delhi's toxic pollution levels. Frank Hans Dannenberg Castellona told MEA official that air pollution is affecting daily operations at some of the missions and the issue needs to be addressed on an urgent basis. He also informed that due to high pollution levels, many diplomats have been forced to move out of Delhi.
As diplomats, we are concerned of our tourists coming to India and, of course, of our nationals that live in India. But it is something that we cannot say it only affects us. It affects everybody in the community. However, it is something that is not in the control of the MEA. We will meet today and discuss some of the things done by other countries who have had similar situations.
And now an update from poll-bound Gujarat, and the BJP released its first list of 70 candidates for the Gujarat elections. Now this list includes 49 sitting MLAs and 5 Congress rebels. Now 16 fresh faces have also been included. Chief Minister Vijay Bhai Rupani was named as the party candidate from Rajkot, while Deputy Chief Minister Nitin Bhai Patel will contest from Mehsana. State Party President Jeetu Bhai Waghani was given a ticket from Bhavnagar West. Out of the 17 names, 17 are Patels, 18 OBCs, 3 SCs and 11 STs. The names were finalized by BJP's Central Election Committee, which met on Wednesday. Chaired by BJP National President Amit Shah, the meeting was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Rajnath Singh and the Minister of External Affairs Sushma Swaraj as well. Elections for the 182-member Gujarat Assembly will be held in 2 phases on 9th and 14th of December. And the Election Commission has rejected Sharad Yadav's claim to the Janata Dal United's party's name and symbol. The top election body recognized a Nitish Kumar-led faction as the real JDU and entitled them to use the party's arrow symbol. The EC in its order said that the group led by Nitish has demonstrated overwhelming majority support in the legislature wing as well as the majority in the National Council of the party, which is the apex organizational body of the JDU. Nitish Kumar and Sharad Yadav both parted ways after Kumar decided to join hands with the BJP in the month of July, triggering a battle for the control of the party symbol.
उनका दावा तो शुरू से ही बोगस था, लेकिन चुनाव आयोग ने पूरा वक्त दिया, सबको सुना और उसके बाद अपना फैसला दिया। उनका दावा डे 1 से बिल्कुल ही उसमें कोई दम नहीं था।
News from the south of the country. Madras High Court has directed the centre to inform it about the status of the transgender bill pending in Parliament. Voicing concern over the plight of transgenders, Justice N. Kiruba Karan asked the centre to take a decision on the passage of the bill at the earliest because the transgenders were suffering. He directed the central government to inform the court on the follow-up action to be taken to make the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill 2016 a law. The Rights of Transgender Persons Bill 2014 was passed by Rajya Sabha in 2015, but it has been pending in the Lok Sabha since 26th of February 2016. This proposed Act of Parliament seeks to help extend constitutional rights and end the discrimination faced by transgenders. And now news about the film Padmavati and Rajput organizations have escalated their protests ahead of the film's release on 1st of December on Friday. Fringe groups also threatened to cause physical harm to the lead actor Deepika Padukone. Here are the details.
Protests against Sanjay Leela Bhansali's film Padmavati took a violent turn on Friday, with protesters firing shots in the air and brandishing swords outside Chittorgarh Fort. Activists from different groups alleged that the film had insulted the 16,000 women from other castes who reportedly committed Johar during Alauddin Khilji's invasion.
ये अनिश्चितकालीन धरना 7 दिन तक के लिए लागू किया था। आज हमने सरकार को अल्टीमेटम दिया था 16 तारीख तक वो कोई निर्णय करेंगे, लेकिन सरकार की तरफ से हमें एक भी कोई आश्वासन अभी तक आया नहीं है। उसी धरने के अंतर्गत आज हम लोग सब मिलकर पाटन पोल का फर्स्ट गेट हमने बंद किया है।
Rajput organizations called for a nationwide bandh on December 1st on the day of the film's release. Members of the film fraternity also urged protesters to watch the film before its release.
संजय लीला बंसाली साहब ने कहा कि मैं फिल्म दिखाने को तैयार हूं और उन्होंने सेंसर बोर्ड को भी इस बात को लिखा है कि मैं परमिशन चाहता हूं कि जिस समाज को ये महसूस हो रहा है कि उसकी भावनाएं आहत हुई हैं तो उनको फिल्म दिखाने के लिए वो तैयार हो गए हैं.
Actor Deepika Padukone was given special security after a Rajput fringe group threatened her with physical harm. Security has been tightened outside director Sanjay Leela Bhansali's residence in Mumbai. Rajput group the Karni Sena also taking offence to Deepika's statement that the film will be released.
इस तरह से अगर भड़काया जाएगा तो क्या वो राष्ट्रपति हैं जो हमें हुक्म दे रही हैं, वो हमें भड़का रही हैं. आपके मार्फत मैसेज देना चाहता हूं, मत भड़काओ हमें, ये फिल्म नहीं लगने दूंगा.
A fresh plea has been moved in the Supreme Court to remove alleged objectionable scenes and registration of an FIR against the makers of the film. The court has agreed to hear the plea. The Apex Court has already refused to stay the release of the movie. Earlier this year, Sanjay Leela Bhansali was roughed up by members of the Karni Sena during the Jaipur schedule of the film's shooting. The set of the film was also vandalized twice in Jaipur and Kolhapur. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, the largest trade union in India, backed by the RSS, held a massive rally in Delhi on Friday. The protests were to demand end of contract labour, pension and other social security benefits. The BMS staged a protest march that culminated outside Parliament. Their demand also included representative of labourers and farmers in Niti Aayog, equal work for equal pay and prevention of privatisation. Subsequent to the rally, BMS President Saji Narayana led a delegation to Arun Jaitley-led group of ministers and submitted a charter of. They also cautioned the government that their agitation would be intensified if it fails to accept their demands.
बैंकों में सबसे आज का जो ज्वलंत विषय है वो है मर्जर. सरकार बिना सोचे समझे मर्जर की ओर बढ़ रही है. एनपीए के ऊपर कोई अकाउंटेबिलिटी फिक्स नहीं हो रही. भर्ती बैंकों में नहीं है. वर्कफोर्स कम हो रही है, काम बढ़ रहा है.
हमारे आंगनवाड़ी का समस्या बहुत है. हमारा सैलरी बहुत कम है. वर्किंग आवर ज्यादा है. हमारा
मकसद के साथ हम सब यहाँ पर एकत्र आए हैं और प्रजातांत्रिक को अपनी बात कहने के बहुत सारे विकल्प, बहुत सारे तरीके, बहुत सारे अधिकार उपलब्ध हैं. जिसमें से एक आज है और भी बहुत सारे हैं। हम उन सब का इस्तेमाल करेंगे जिसमें हड़ताल भी शामिल है।
Now on to international news. In Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe has dug in his heels despite his own party, ZANU-PF party, now joining growing calls for him to resign. ZANU-PF branches in all the 10 provinces met on Friday and also called for Mugabe's wife Grace to resign from the party. War veterans, until recently loyal to the 93-year-old president, and liberal groups have also urged him to quit. An anti-Mugabe protest march will be held in the capital Harare today. Military and Mugabe's party have also offered support for this rally. Meanwhile, Mugabe appeared in public on Friday for the first time since the army took charge, opening a graduation ceremony at Zimbabwe Open University in Harare. Mugabe sacked Vice President Emerson Mnangagwa last week, apparently to pave the way for his wife Grace Mugabe to take over the presidency. Instead, the military says it was engaging with Mugabe and would inform the public on the outcome of the talks.
I tried to use the constitutional route because obviously a coup attracts the attention and sanctions from SADC, from the African Union, from the international community. But to all intents and purposes, this is a military takeover, which is likely to lead to a transition. Whether or not this transition will be democratic or not is another question altogether.
And on to sports now, ace Indian wrestler Sushil Kumar has clinched the gold medal in the men's 74-kilogram freestyle competition of the National Wrestling Championship in Indore. Two-time Olympic medalist Sushil Kumar has fought only 2 of his initial rounds before 3 of his opponents in the quarter-final, semi-final and final. While in the women's wrestling, Olympic medal winner Sakshi Malik and Geeta Phogat have bagged gold medals. And in cricket news, India will resume their first innings against Sri Lanka in the first test match in Kolkata's Eden Garden today. On Friday, India were 74 for 5 against the island nation with Cheteshwar Pujara and Wriddhiman Saha at the crease. While for Sri Lanka, bowlers continued their superb show as they dismissed hosts Ajinkya Rahane and R. Ashwin. An ace Indian badminton player, PV Sindhu, has bowed out of the ongoing China Open Super Series badminton tournament. World number 2 shuttler lost to Chinese Gao Frangji in the quarter-finals. Frangji beat Sindhu 21-11, 21-10. Now, with the defeat, India's campaign in the China Open tournament has ended. An ace Indian tennis player, Yuki Bhamri, will clash with the Ramkumar Ramanathan in the men's singles final at the ATP Challenger in Pune today. Third-seeded Yuki Bhamri beat seed Spaniard Adrian Menendez Messieren 6-2, 6-4 in the first semi-final on Friday. While in another match, a fourth-seeded Ramkumar Ramanathan won an All-India semi-final against Saket Marnini 6-3, 6-2. And that's all in this edition of news. But news and updates will continue on Rajya Sabha television. Thanks so much for watching.